Hi, everybody. This is Ken Wilson. Once upon a time, I broadcast blues hockey. I always listen to Let's Go Blues Radio. It's everything you'll want as a blues fan. Oh, baby.
Are you a first responder, a veteran, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, or a Let's Go Blues Radio listener? Of course you are. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call real estate superstar Mike Burgoyne today at 314-753-4060 or email him at mike@strikewithmike.com to earn special rates today.
Cut out the coffee, cut out those energy drinks that make you crash, and put yourself in a position to succeed with an energy boost from RockinThatIDLife.com. You'll be energized, focused, and you'll even experience an elevated mood for up to 6 hours. Check out RockinThatIDLife.com to learn more.
Get ready to hear some noise tonight. You're just seconds away from Let's Go Blues Radio.
The Blues score! Oh, baby! The Blues score! McKinnon shoots and scores! Portnoy ahead to Hall. He's got a breakaway. Maybe he scores! Oh, baby, do you believe it? Scores in a drive. He scores! Baby, Chris Pronger! Wow, what great goaltending! The Twister! Jacob hits the hit. Sellout crowd. Oh, baby!
Let's show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown.
I keep thinking I'm going to take that out, but it just makes me laugh.
You know what's funny is that I've said multiple times to open the show, I hate Kirk for that opening. And I'm like, the podcast people are probably like, what? Why does he hate him so much? But for those who don't know, it's a different intro for
Right.
the videos.
Right. And this is more of a visual. Well, that last part was audio. Welcome to episode 6 of season 14. This is episode number 487 all time of the often imitated, never duplicated. So this is how Liberty dies, with thunderous applause. We're the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast. Let's Go Blues Radio. To interact with the show on social media, our handle on all the socials is at LGB Radio. I'm Kurt Price. I'm my co-host for the big show tonight. Is Jeff Ponder. Bill Day is on assignment due to allegations. So we got, what's his name? Westhead? He's investigating.
Rick Westhead.
Rick Westhead is investigating the situation.
Yep.
The agenda for tonight includes discussion about Broberg's unfortunate knee injury, the 2 recent wins versus Toronto and Tampa Bay. Plus, we'll talk a little about Philadelphia, I guess. Holloway's scary and strange incident on the bench and subsequent trip to the hospital. And we'll kind of take a brief look at the Central Division standings.
Did you say subsequent?
Subsequent trip to the hospital.
That's not how you say that word, is it?
Yeah. How do you say it?
Subsequent.
Subsequent? I you know what? I've heard both. Now that you say it that way.
Subsequent. I'm telling you.
I'm not saying it's not. I think both are acceptable. Maybe not. Whatever. All that more on this ridiculously intelligent episode of Let's Go Blues Radio.
Subsequent is what Google says.
Subsequent, whatever. Subsequent. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, subsequent does sound much better than subsequent.
Yes, I think subsequent is completely in your head.
Now that I'm saying it more than once, I think you might be right.
That is your Traverse City, apparently.
Traverse City. Subsequent.
Yes.
I want to say that it's. I've heard that elsewhere. What do you think, guys, in the chat? Is that acceptable or no? Subsequent.
I really don't think so.
I think if Amy is listening, I think she would. She's a linguist.
What does Amy know?
She's a cunning linguist. I think she would know. What's up, Jeff? How are things? Did you watch any television last night?
Yeah. So fortunately, we had the Blues game, which was, by the way, more that girl really chiming in hard here. She says, yes, she's quite the cunning linguist. Although I should take back the joke I just made, because she says, I'm going to side with Ponder here.
Fair enough.
It is subsequent.
Yeah, I after saying each a few times, I'm thinking, yeah, you're probably right.
Yes.
I think my version is French.
Yes, I'm sure that's what it is.
From my
100%.
from my time in Europe, I think I just picked that up.
That's exactly what it is. I cannot get the stream to load for
On YouTube?
Instagram. No, for Instagram. So I don't think we're on there, but that's fine. If I would say if you normally watch us on Instagram, just go over to YouTube, but you can't be watching us on Instagram right now, so never mind. More of that girl adds a linguist, not a typist. But yeah, so last night we had the Blues game, which was great. It was a hell of a game. Very hard-working win. And then for me, I actually had a hockey game myself after that. So it was kind of nice having that distraction. But I will say, when I was driving home, I turned on 11:20 and kind of got the rundown for what happened. And I'll just say I wasn't happy with the results. Really no results in Missouri with the exception of some of the amendments. But the voting in of a certain governor was
do you know
not
what's interesting?
to my liking. What?
With Missouri is that they're transitioning to voting for more liberal policies for the state, the people are, but then they elect people who are trying to take those rights away from them.
Yes, and that's what I think is hilarious is we vote to let women have control of their bodies, but we elect a man who wants to take that away. So that doesn't really make sense.
And voting for women's bodily autonomy rights. But they also reinstated the two judges that tried to fight to keep that off of the ballot. So I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense.
I'm sure people have their reasons for voting the way
here we are in 2024 when the Chicago Cubs have won a World Series, the St. Louis Blues have won a Stanley Cup. Nothing makes sense anymore.
No, nothing makes sense. Official beers of episode number 487. You can follow each of us on the Untapped app. Bill's handle is Billy Blue Note 33. Mine is C Price 12. Jeff's is J Pond 94. I'm gonna admit that I have been ridiculously lax with updating Untapped. I haven't done it in a while. I need to start doing that more often. So,
Big Beaver, by the way, no politics. This is going to be my getaway for the evening.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
That's the only politics we're talking all night. That's it.
Yep.
Kurt, you are, and yes, I'm with you on the, I almost said the bench app, which is what we use to control my hockey team. No, the Untapped app. Yes, let's use that more often. I think Bill's still pretty good about using it, but
oh yeah,
man, I update it maybe twice a year at this point.
Yeah.
I really need to use it more.
Yeah, when I update it, I feel like I just go back and do a bunch of the beers I remember drinking recently.
Yeah, I do too.
At one time,
and it's like that's not really what it's meant for.
No, it's like, oh, what's someone drinking tonight? Because you get notifications or whatever.
Yep.
But it is what it is. So maybe after the show I'll update mine.
Yep. Your one time of the year.
Right. Yep. November.
All right, you're up. Go ahead, sir.
I am enjoying a Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale, which was gifted to me on my birthday by a good friend of mine, Jeff Foster. So I think it's a 4-pack of these up in the fridge. So I'm giving it a go. It's the first time I've had it. It's pretty good. It's not really a overly strong bourbony barrel flavor.
What's the percentage on that?
It can't be very high because it's not real strong. 8.2. So yeah, it's not like a lot of your other bourbon barrels where it's like in the double digits. But it's up there. 8.2 is up there.
It's higher than your lagers and things like that.
It's higher than your lagers.
There's
like a 4 or something.
It's not going to put you under the table, but it'll get you feeling pretty good if you drink it quick.
Yeah, it's like drinking a couple of beers.
Yep.
So,
I'm going one with a low percentage. This is a 4.7. But to me, one of the best lagers in the area, at least in the area, probably. I mean, shit, I'd love to say in the country, but I don't think I've tried enough to really say that. I just know St. Louis beer is great. Urban Underdog, American Lager, one of my favorites. Just a great beer to have during a game, especially. I love sipping on one of those when the Blues are on, and Cardinals as well. So if you haven't had Urban Underdog, make sure you check it out.
One of Darren Pang's favorite beers here in St. Louis.
Yes, Prost.
He always touts that beer.
Justin Scott is, I believe he's 2-0 on the season with going to games. Yeah, should I go to the game on Saturday for my birthday? Yes, you're 2-0, sir. Keep it going.
What kind of question is that?
I think he's fishing for a happy birthday, but
Oh,
we don't do that on this show. We do not wish people a happy birthday, Justin.
No,
we don't do that.
we would never say happy birthday, Justin,
No.
on Justin's birthday ever. No.
Nope.
All right. So last night, so the story of the game, besides the Blues' impressive win, was Dylan Holloway, who had a crazy scare. Nobody knew what was going on. Saw him carried off on a stretcher, taken to the hospital after an errant puck hit him in the neck during last night's 3-2 win versus Tampa Bay. Holloway was back at Centene Community Ice Center Wednesday morning, less than 15 hours later. He said he felt good today. I feel way better. Obviously, it was a scary situation. From what I've been told, the puck hit the vagus nerve on my neck. As soon as I got hit, I knew something was a little off, but then I saw the 2-on-1, so I couldn't pass up the opportunity. Such a hockey player.
Yes.
What a hockey player thing to say.
I like what Rutherford said. Did you see what he said on Twitter?
No.
He said that needs to be on a T-shirt. I knew something was up, then I saw the 2-on-1, so I couldn't pass up that opportunity. This makes me think of a guy like crawling to the net, like,
right.
Oh, it's a 2-on-1. I need to get over there.
He goes on to say, as soon as I got to the bench, I was feeling a little woozy. I don't remember much from there until I was on the stretcher close to the ambulance. So the game was stopped with 1:11 left in the first period, as Holloway was attended to on the bench by Blues medical staff, including head athletic trainer Ray Barilli. He was later taken to the hospital for testing before being released around 11 p.m. Holloway was told not to participate in strenuous activity for 24 hours, but is hoping to play on Thursday. He said, as far as I'm concerned, I feel good. I feel pretty normal. I feel like I'm ready to go. So this was, you know what? Okay, so when this happened, right before it happened, or right before we knew what was going on, the referee was getting ready to announce the results of the double minor review.
Mm.
And he was getting ready to go on the mic, and then the Tampa Bay players said, whoa, 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 and they pointed to the Blues bench.
Yeah.
And then the camera goes over there, and you hear Jamie Rivers come on, and you can just tell, he goes, there's something, Holloway is having a problem on the bench. And then they cut close to the bench, and you see Burley just holding his head. And I'm like, oh. I mean, anybody
he
who's
was standing there, like, holding the back of his head, and then he had pressure, like, right on his neck. And it was just my first thought, which I want to get your first reaction to. When I first saw it, I thought, is he like gushing blood out of his neck and he's trying to put pressure on it to stop it? But then I looked at him like, there's no blood anywhere. Like, there's no red anywhere on Holloway, on the bench, on Barilli. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? That is so odd.
I didn't think that. I saw him. It looked to me like initially right off the bat that he was just holding his head for stabilization. I thought maybe he fell, didn't see something, and he cracked his neck or something and went to the bench and was like, oh my God, my body feels numb. And I thought, oh my gosh, so they're stabilizing his head. I just, of course, speculating. You have no idea what's going on. And then you see the stretcher come out and you're like, holy shit, what the hell happened? They show the replay. He takes a shot to it looked like the collarbone neck area. And you're like, okay, that was probably it. Right. But then he keeps going and you're like, oh, well, he looks fine. Right. And then he goes to the bench and you see him kind of tilt his head a little bit. And then he gets attended to, and thankfully he's okay. And it was the stretcher was precautionary, and Barilli's head stabilization thing was precautionary. But man, how it just makes you think of Bumeister, right, from a few years ago. It's just
and not even just. I mean, going further than the Blues, just thinking of Yuri Fisher when he collapsed, and we've seen so many. Was it Rich Peverly for the Stars? Like, it's just so random, and it's like, well, I don't want to say random, but it's something that you're just not expecting. Like you said, you're sitting there watching the game. I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, well, all right. That high stick's coming away because it was a Blues high stick. And then all of a sudden, like you said, you see the Lightning players like pointing, and you can hear through the referee's microphone,
right,
one of them going, whoa, wait, Blues bench. And like then you see the referee turn, and that's when you hear Rivers, and I'm like, what? Like it's just so jarring and odd to hear there's a player struggling on the bench. And my first thought is like when he gets off the bench and they stretcher him off. My first thought is, holy shit, I really hope we hear soon that he's stabilized and okay. And then it's like, are they going to resume this game? Like there's been times where they've had to stop the game.
Well, with Bomeister, I heard some people compare it to Chris Pronger and stuff, and I'm like, well, I get it on one hand, but on the other hand, it's like he never lost consciousness. He wasn't dying on me. I mean, we didn't know what was going on, but I mean, it was a precautionary thing, so he wasn't like close to death that I guess they knew he wasn't or whatever. So, and it's a common thing to see where there's very little time left in a period. They'll take the intermission right there and just add that on to the next period, basically. So to let players regroup a little bit, which I think is a fantastic idea. I've seen him do it a few times. I was at a game when this happened one time. When Pronger got hurt, broke his wrist or what? I was at the game.
The Havanov clear that hit him in the wrist.
I think so. Yes,
when he was crossing he was coming out of the penalty box. I remember that game.
I was at that game, and there was very little time left, and they added it on. That was the first time I think I had seen that, and I was there for it, which is kind of weird. But yeah, and so thankfully he's going to be okay. He might play next game. So
yeah, which again, hockey player. You think of precautionary for like an MLB or an NFL player. They probably are like, we're gonna hold him out of game, but a hockey player, no, I'm getting right back in there.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, the puck hits a nerve, right? And so if something went numb, something feels off, and they go and they I think they gave him some medication as well. But it's going to be okay. So there was no damage. So everything was precautionary, which was great.
I found it odd because he said in that quote you read, he said, as soon as I got to the bench, I was feeling a little woozy. I don't remember much from there until I was on the stretcher close to the ambulance. It's weird that he I don't want to say lost consciousness because he was still there. You could see him. He was still focused but like clearly like his brain like shut off, and it was just like, let the body do its job and help you. What?
It could be a thing too, where he's scared and I don't know. You could just lose track of what you're thinking about. I don't know.
But
who knows?
And well, my point is, for me, I've never been in that exact situation, but I've been in a situation where I'm severely hurt. And like when I broke my ankle, I remember that like it was yesterday. I remember every single thing that happened. It happened when I was 17 on the hockey rink. And I seriously thought that like time had slowed down. And they say that there are certain situations in life that a traumatic experience, your mind basically slows down time. And that's why you remember weird events like 9/11 so well. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, man, for me, I feel like his mind would slow down the time and he'd be like, yeah, I feel like it just happened, but for whatever reason, like I said, maybe it's his body is like, I need to focus all this energy in making sure that you're not going to die, and like, and maybe it's that he's got a million thoughts running through his head as it's happening, and it's just hard to remember exactly what happened.
Well, I mean, he did say he felt woozy, so maybe he was lightheaded and maybe he kind of just zoned out for a little bit. I mean, who knows? I mean, that's just, the body works in weird ways, and it's weird how it kind of deals with trauma and stuff. So
we've got Dr. Beaver in the house here. He says the vagus nerve sends signals from the brain to the heart and digestive systems, let alone one of the largest and longest nerves in the body. There you go. That explains it. So basically, he was not getting signals to his brain. So that's why he probably can't remember anything.
And that kind of makes sense because the look on his face when the camera panned over there and you saw Burley holding his head, he looked like he was kind of out of it. He didn't look like he was like super focused. It wasn't really talking, just kind of staring straight ahead. So There may not have been a lot of signals going back and forth to his brain.
No, and it's scary. And the conversation that I brought up on Twitter, and I think it came to the conclusion that it wouldn't have helped, is neck guards. Does a neck guard help with impact, not a cut?
Well, a net guard or a net protector, they're different, right?
A neck protection, like the
yeah.
TJ Oshie War Road stuff.
Yeah.
And the overwhelming response was no, because it's not like a hard plate
that
material. Absorbs impact. It stops a sharp object from reaching your skin. So
have you ever worn or seen that material? It's like a thicker material. It's flexible. Yeah. It's not hard by any means.
It's I've been to Pure Hockey. They've got War Road stuff there now, and it's excellent, and I need to get it, honestly. I think I've told the story in here before where I was going into the corner, and me and a guy got tangled up, and I ended up falling, and then another guy was skating in to try and get the puck, and I saw his skate, and again, time slowed down. I saw his skate, and it was getting ready to chomp right on my wrist, and I thought, oh my God, this guy's gonna step on me and I'm gonna bleed out. And he last minute stopped himself from stepping and pulled himself back. Could have easily hurt himself doing that, but he might have saved my life by doing that.
I know that we've shared these stories before, because I think we when Bill was on, and I don't know if Bill was on the ice for this or not. My cousin was. There was when my cousin was on the ice, Cahokia, one of the guys, I believe it was one of Cahokia's players, one of the better players, had his wrist stepped on, slashed with a skate blade, and there was blood everywhere.
Oh yeah,
it was bad. It was really bad.
I mean, I hate to get dark here, but that's why, people who want to kill themselves cut their wrists, because there's so much blood flow there, and it will literally gush. And so it's like, when I saw that guy skate coming, I thought, he's either going to chop my whole freaking hand off, or he's just going to slice my wrists. And
that's
luckily, scary. And I didn't care where the puck was when I got up and he was still on the ground. I didn't care if it was in the back of my net. I didn't care if it was at my feet. I was just looked at him and I helped him up, and I was like, you might have just saved my life, dude. Thank you. And he was just like, dude, he's like, I thought the same thing. He's like, man, I really don't want to murder someone out here.
Yeah. I can totally see that reaction where you're getting ready to take a stride, and you go to step down, you see someone's arm there, and you like just collapse your leg. You don't step down at all. You just fall. Yeah. It's like,
and then you're on one leg, and then, his whole body, because his body's shifting, and so it was like he went face first into the boards, and it was ugly. And it was like, oh, I'm like, man, I hope he didn't just break his neck, but hey, at least I'm not dead.
Yeah. It's not the NHL. It's you're paying to play. So
yep, exactly.
It's a little different. All right. So we're due for a break. After, on the other side of this break, we're going to talk a little bit about Philip Broberg's injury, and then the last couple Blues games. You're listening to Kurt and Jeff on Let's Go Blues Radio.
We'll return after these messages.
As a hockey player, Mike Burgoyne knows a thing or two about making the perfect play. And when it comes to real estate, he's always ready to score the winning goal for his clients. If you're a first responder, a veteran, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, or a Let's Go Blues Radio listener looking to score the home of your dreams, you'll receive special rates with Mike. Go ahead, shoot some questions his way, and he'll have the answer quicker than Curtis Joseph on a breakaway.
Curtis Joseph got the pedal down!
Any barriers? Mike will mow them down like Chris Pronger in front of the net. He'll score you your dream home or sell your existing home faster than a Brett Hall one-timer.
Put past the Hall, he shoots, he scores!
See Burgoyne's real estate prowess in action today by emailing him at mike@strikewithmike.com or by calling 314-753-4060. That email again is mike@strikewithmike.com, and that phone number is 314-753-4060. Getting Mike Burgoyne on your team will be the boost your power play needs.
Hey guys, it's Jeff. You know, the fun, energetic host of Let's Go Blues Radio. I know I give off a natural energy and cheerful glow, but as I've gotten older, I've realized I need a kick in the pants to get going. I've tried it all, from forcing myself to drink coffee to picking up an energy drink every morning, but none of it provided true, sustainable energy without crash. Luckily, my friend Dustin at RockinThatIDLife.com told me about their product, Energy, which provides exactly what I need. The first thing I do every morning is fill up my shaker bottle with water and a small energy packet, and within minutes of drinking it, my day truly begins. I feel motivated to get going on my work and feel the mental focus take effect as I dive into what I'm doing. I don't crash, and I feel like $1,000,000 throughout the day. Reach out to Dustin today to experience how much better your professional life can be. Email him at rockinthatidlife@gmail.com and get $10 off your first order. That's rockinthatidlife.com, and that email again is rockinthatidlife@gmail.com. Don't let a lack of energy keep you from being who you want to be.
And now, back to Let's Go Blues Radio, the longest running St. Louis Blues podcast with Price, Ponder, and Day.
Just realized that transition logo is messed up.
Is it?
I'll have to fix that. Yeah, the old logo was over the top of the new one. So I'm sorry.
I feel really dumb for not noticing that.
Well, it was, you know how the with the three of us, the caricatures. That was weird. I have to look into that. Didn't realize that before.
You're right.
Odd.
I see it now. There it is. Yep.
Super weird.
We're just hiding behind the logo.
Do you know where your children are?
He is in bed.
So you do know.
I do.
All right. So Philip Broberg is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a lower body injury. Everyone knows it's a knee.
Yep.
Broberg was injured midway through the second period on Saturday when Maple Leafs forward Mitch Marner fell on his leg on the boards in the Blues defensive zone. I saw some people online saying that he dove on his knee on purpose.
Suspension.
I'm like, come on.
No, that did not happen.
He's fighting for the puck.
Yeah.
Bannister said, I'm happy that he's going to be back. It could have been worse, but it isn't. It can always be worse, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was playing really good hockey, and now it's just let's get him back on the ice, back to game speed, and that's going to take a little bit of time. But the player himself is really happy with the prognosis. We're disappointed it's 4 to 6 weeks, but it could have been worse. Through 12 games this season, Broberg ranks second on the team in points with 9, trailing only Jordan Kyrou's 10. You know, Jeff, I am when I heard 4 to 6, I'm not quite as, we dodged a bullet. I'm pissed. I'm annoyed. It's 4 to 6. 4 to 6 is a lot. So I initially I think when I think Korak and Rutherford kind of hinted that it's not going to be as serious as we thought, and somebody floated 2 weeks out there, I thought, 2 weeks. I'd be very happy with 2 weeks because it looked really bad. He could barely get off the ice. And then you hear 4 to 6, and I'm like, if it's 4, I'm like, okay. But if it's 6, I'm like, that sucks. That's a long time to me. And that's not till December. That's 29, maybe 30 games if he's out a little longer.
This is a fan base that is dealing with a lot of injuries to open the season. I mean, it's been almost every game somebody's left injured.
Yeah.
So I think it's just as in like he's not done for the season.
We just went through that with Thomas. We just went through that. It's like he's not done for the season. He'll be back in December, and then.
But I'll say in my way of finding the bright side here too is I think the Blues can absorb the loss of Broberg a little bit more than they can absorb the loss of Thomas. Excuse me, Thomas. And I don't think that's a crazy statement to say. I think most people would agree with that. But it's Broberg to me was like more of a revelation than was oh my God, this is exactly who we thought we were getting. Like. I do think the way he played is who we thought he might be down the road. I don't think we thought he would be as good as he's been to open the year. So
that's why I think Broberg is a bigger loss than Thomas, even though Thomas you probably project to be our best player this season. I think Broberg was our best player, especially considering.
You think it's a bigger loss than losing Thomas?
I do. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because I think Broberg was our best player up until he got hurt, and he was he filled by far the biggest need for this team. A number one defenseman. He was playing like a true number one defenseman. He was playing at a near Norris Trophy level. So he would be in the conversation if he played that way the entire season, right?
But
So
I don't think anybody expects him to.
no, what I'm saying is, but that's the way he's played. To now not have that. He was that person, but to not have that now, I think that makes it a bigger loss than Thomas, even though we
But I
expected that
think
out of Thomas.
my reasoning why I disagree is because I think the Blues have more of an opportunity to absorb the Broberg loss.
Why?
I don't
You
think
so?
they. Oh yeah, they have
Why?
better defensive
How do
depth than they have center depth.
How you gonna? Well, you got Holloway to step in. You got Pushnevich playing center now. You got some guys you can plug
that's
in.
not good defense. That's not.
I
good
didn't say it was
center
good.
depth.
I said it was. I said they could fill in. But here's the
that's
thing.
not. But you want good depth. That's not good depth. Buchnevich is not a center. Holloway is not a center, and they've shown it.
Buchnevich is a center. He's playing center. He was playing center before the Thomas injury.
Good center.
I'm just saying that's his position.
But what I'm saying is, you talk about who can be. How can you absorb these losses? Robert Thomas, there's no one that can play top line center in his place. There's
no one who can play top. There's no one who can play number one defenseman in Broberg's place.
Broberg was not getting number one defenseman minutes. He was playing on the second pairing with Falk.
But he was our best, I think.
I agree with you.
I think he was their best player.
He was their best player, but I'm saying they have more chance to absorb it with their number of defensemen that can step in and play minutes. P.O. Joseph, it's been a short stint, but Joseph last night looked great. I'm not saying he was Broberg, but he was great. I am yet to find somebody, even with these 2 wins, 3 wins with the first Toronto win, even with those 3, I'm yet to see someone step in and make me be like, oh, okay, that's who's filling in for Thomas. That's how this offense is going to score goals.
See,
still I don't think in the long haul the Blues have anything without Robert Thomas on forward.
When you lose a forward is much easier to absorb the loss of than a defenseman, especially a defenseman that was playing at the level that Broberg was playing at. You have a lot more forwards. You have a lot more circle the wagon type guys that can do that with
but Robert Thomas is your only elite forward on this team.
Broberg was your only elite defenseman playing at that level when you lost him.
But once again, I think going into the season, the depth around defense was better than the depth around the center position. We all said, what are the Blues struggling this season going
to score goals?
What do they need? They need a second line center. They don't have that. And then you lose your first line center. So now you're talking about moving wingers to center and having your third line center play first line center.
I understand.
When you lose Broberg, which is a big loss, you're losing somebody who those minutes can be at least. Defenseman. Yeah, but again, they went into the season not knowing that's how good he was going to be. Yes, it does.
That's how he was playing. That's the caliber player he is.
But they got
playing
the depth to cover him a little bit better than they had with Thomas.
I don't think so.
I disagree.
Because I think the defense has played very well since the short time he's been out. But when Leddy is ready to play, I think he gets put back in the lineup. That's a problem. Now that's a coaching decision, right? Which I don't think we agree with, putting Leddy back in.
No.
But I just think we have more guys who can circle the wagon on defense and kind of a replace by committee kind of a thing, more so than, because I think if you were to, I guess I put more value, even though this is weird because when I played, I was a center, right? A forward. So I will say that, and Two Guys No Cup would probably say, finally, you agree with us, that a number one defenseman is the most valuable piece for a team in the NHL. It's really hard to win and go deep in the playoffs without a true number one defenseman.
Let me word it like this. I'll just say that I think the Blues are built to absorb a defensive loss as opposed to a top 3 forward loss.
I don't think,
because they're already struggling to say they have a top 3. I still question if Jordan Kyrou is truly a top 3 forward in the NHL. On the Blues, yes, but in the NHL, So it's like, for me, yes, Broberg was playing fantastic. out of his mind hockey, but they've got a defensive core that I think they have built and added pieces to, especially this summer, to make it a little easier to absorb a loss of a Parayko, Broberg, or a Falk.
And I will agree that I think they can absorb both losses. But I think the bigger loss, and this is maybe we're just incremental differences here. I think the bigger loss, in my opinion, is Broberg, based on the way that he had played this season, and because he fills that need that we were longing for since Pietrangelo left. At least he had been playing that way
so far
this season.
yes.
So far, yes, so far.
Yeah.
Now, there's no guarantee he would maintain that, but there's no guarantees not either. So it's just you wanted to ride that as long as you could, and hopefully he's that guy, because he played really well in the playoffs last year for Edmonton. So, and that was continuing this season. So I think, okay, he is this guy.
Yeah, and I'll say, to, I guess, kind of agree with you. Geez, Mary Woodruff Ponder, we know you're here. She's on Facebook. She's on YouTube. She's everywhere.
She's everywhere.
She's like Roy Kent.
She's here.
She's here. She's there. She's every fucking where. Mary Ponder. Anyway. No, and I'll say that I will say down the stretch, yes. The way Broberg was playing, I mean, my God, guy was incredible playing for this team. So you wanted to see that continue. Now it's like, okay, we got to take this step without him. We're going to go for a couple weeks without him. Then he's going to come back, and maybe it takes him a little while to get back to where he was because he didn't have a training camp under him. Like, that all hurts and that all sucks. But for me, if it was you can have Thomas or Broberg back tomorrow, I'm sorry, this team needs offense. I'm taking Thomas, but
you know what's funny?
It's by a hair.
You know what's funny is that you're a defenseman. You're clamoring for the forward. I'm a forward. I'm clamoring for the defenseman.
Yep. Yeah, that's because, like I said, it's 2024. Everything makes sense right now.
No, and I would love Thomas back, obviously, and I think my favoritism towards Broberg, as far as loss is concerned, is just a hair. It's not by much.
You know what this is right here?
It's a jersey in a bag.
It is. That is. Wow, you are good. That is a Philip Broberg jersey for the tournament.
Oh, nice.
Right. So for anyone who wants to come to the Ponder Cup, November 23rd, Midwest Sport Hockey, we will have a Philip Broberg jersey. So for the raffle. So all it is, $1 a ticket. $1 could get you a Philip Broberg authentic jersey.
Are the proceeds of the tournament going towards Philip Broberg's to support his family during this rough time?
Yeah, I've already informed the 12-year-old with leukemia that we are no longer going to be giving her the money.
It's Philip Broberg needs it because he's out, and even though he's getting paid still, it's emotionally it's hard on his family, so you got to pay for that.
Yes. Yeah, the couple thousand that we raise is really going to help out that millionaire.
I'm thinking the PR from that the tournament would not go over too well.
No,
that was the case.
Not at all.
Okay, so and you did a nice job putting together a little graphic here to kind of show us which the games that Broberg is going to miss, being out approximately 29 games. Is that at the 6-week mark? Is that what you did?
Ish. It's a little bit before, but I'm going on the longer end. So yeah, for those of you that hadn't seen it, I did post it to Twitter and Instagram. It's just a graphic that shows from October 24th, which was actually when Thomas went down, until Christmas break, which is the 24th of December, obviously. There is 29 games on the schedule. So there's a chance that Thomas at least misses maybe all of those. Broberg, a very good chunk of those. But of those 29 games, nearly 70% are against the Eastern Conference. So you might have noticed Blues have been playing a lot of Eastern Conference teams lately. That is going to continue. They've got games coming up. One more against Tampa, Buffalo, Carolina, Florida, 2 times against Boston, 2 times against the Rangers, 2 times against the Devils, Detroit, Washington, another one against Philadelphia, and another one against the Islanders. Yeah. That's 20 of the 29 games. The other 9 games are just one-offs mostly against the Western Conference. Of those Western Conference teams, only four of those 9 are against the Central in the next 29 games, which is incredible. So really, and the reason I bring all this up is because if you're going to lose points in the standings, yes, all points are valuable. But if you're going to lose points in the standings, you want to do it against the East as opposed to the West, because you're not going to be battling the East for playoff spots. So with these injuries piling up right now, the silver lining is maybe right now it's a little better, because down the stretch, they're going to have a ton of Western Conference games next year. And we want to have our best team out there at that time. So
how
down the stretch, it'll help.
How nice is it that 2 of the 9 games are against San Jose with the
nice?
Yeah, meaning it's supposed to be an easier matchup without Broberg and Thomas.
Supposed to be, but we all know what happened last season.
Oh yeah, so I don't care.
And they had a 4-1 lead against the Blues going into the third period in a second game of the season.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. This still, you know what? If you were to, if the Blues were to play the Sharks tomorrow, I would say, and someone asked me, "Are you going to bet? You have to bet $100 on the Blues or Sharks?" Bet on the Blues. I'm taking the Blues. Would you?
Justin Scott, if I slip in some hush money, I get a Broberg jersey from Jeff personally delivered. It would have to be a pretty hefty price for me to give this up for the raffle. You're better off just going on NHL.com and ordering your own.
or just go to the tournament, take your hush money and dump it all into that box.
Yep.
And you probably have a semi-good chance of winning it?
2 years ago, we had somebody win, and Bill was really bummed. Bill put like $60 in for the Patrick Waugh Canadiens jersey. And he didn't get it. But I know the other person said she put in like $89. So,
wow.
Yeah. So like, but you think about it, that's still a bargain, because those jerseys now go for like $200.
Yeah, sure.
So so it's, you drop in 100, you're still saving money.
We'll go back a couple games. Philadelphia defeated the Blues 2-1 on Halloween to end the Blues' road trip. It was a third straight loss for the Blues, and they had scored just 4 goals in 3 games. Holloway got his 100th NHL game under his belt in this game. Nathan Walker got back in the lineup and scored to tie it at 1. How many times we talk about it? When you put Nathan Walker in the lineup, he instantly does something positive for the team. He's never, when Walker plays in a game, he's never invisible, ever.
No.
He's always out there doing something.
Maybe what they need to do is just let him play every other game. So he gets 41 games a year. And because you keep putting him back in the lineup, and it's like, hey, he just scored 41 goals this season.
Right. Bennington stopped 19 out of 21. Sam Erson's stopped 20-21. Blues power play was over 2. Philly was over 3. I'll say I don't want to talk too much about this game. It was a couple of games ago, but I will say the first goal in this game, not a good look for the pairing of Kessel and Prunovich. Kessel got walked to the inside, and Prunovich did nothing to prevent the pass across back door. Just a bad sequence. And I say that about this because that almost the same kind of play happened against Tampa Bay. Their first goal in this game. Same pairing, same kind of thing. Kessel got walked. Prunovich couldn't prevent the pass across. Same kind of thing. So look for that to hopefully not be a trend, like something Kessel, one getting walked, Kessel, and then Prunovich not being able to stop that pass across, which I think is a glaringly bad problem for Prunovich this season. Positioning on 2-on-1 passes. He doesn't seem to know what to do. He doesn't lay down to block a pass. He's not taking the passing lane away, and the pass goes through him every time. So
you talk to any goalie, for those of you who've never played, and maybe you're new to hockey, I don't know, but when you have a 2-on-1, your goal as a defenseman is to block the pass. Like if there's no pass and the guy with the puck who's carrying it in just snipes a beauty shot on the goalie and scores, any intelligent goalie will look at the defenseman and say, hey, you played that right. He just beat me.
But do you know what they're doing a lot more of now? Is that the defenseman is attacking the shooter more now than they used to, which is an interesting strategy.
What I've been told that they're teaching kids now is to cut the lane like a goalie would, not fully attack the player, but you're supposed to basically glide your body toward them to force a play. So some guys are probably doing that a little too much, but I do like that, and I've actually tried to adopt it in my game. Even is basically like a goalie cuts down an angle, defensemen cut down the angle for them to get to the net and to make the pass. Not an easy thing to do, but as you said, Perunovic not playing these right at all.
Well, I mean, and the thing is too with Perunovic, these two plays in particular that we'll talk about in these two games are down low plays. So he's got nowhere to. He's not attacking the shooter, so he needs to lay down. He needs to block that pass across. Any elevated pass is not going to be receivable by a guy in that tight necessarily. Players too close together. It's just, I don't know. I just take away the high percentage stuff, and if they beat you with a low percentage play, fine. But he seems like he's just not. These pucks are going through him, and that's just not a good look for a defenseman.
Yeah, and on this one too, it's not just Perunovic I want to rip apart. It was the whole line. Ryan Poehling,
yes,
he got the puck at his own zone and just walked every blue. I mean, literally almost every blue. It was like four blues he went through. And
Buchnevich,
Kessel
Buchnevich
tried to go ahead.
Coming out of their own zone, Buchnevich gave him a flyby stick wave, like he reached out with a stick, wasn't moving his skates. Same thing with Neighbors after he crossed the blue line. Neighbors stopped skating and just reached out with a stick, thinking, there's two Blues players back, he's got nowhere to go. And then he walked Kessel.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying with the center depth too, is like, again, that shows to me Buchnevich knows to seal off points, win board battles. But when it comes to up the center of the ice, I just don't believe in his skill as a center. And I think that's not saying Robert Thomas would have been on the ice there and that Robert Thomas would have made the right play. It just goes to show that, to me, like, that was him a little bit out of his element. And yeah, I think Kessel did not look good on this play at all. And then, like you said, Perunovic just out of position, allowed the pass.
I think he was in position. I just think he didn't do anything.
No, he didn't. And that's one of those plays where, Binnington's, he's got to be like, as soon as all the players skate down for the face-off, he's got to say, what the fuck? Where are these guys? Like, Jesus. Like, that dude just walked four guys and then slid a pass in front to a wide open guy. Like, am I the only one out here?
And, it's funny because you see Philadelphia's game-winning goal in this game was due to a Kyrou turnover.
Yeah.
Coming out of his zone into center.
Overhandled him.
No one overhandled the puck, just overstick handled and lost it. Turned it over and they came back in and scored. So, and every time I see something like this happen, which, it happens to him a little more than it should for what he's getting paid. Is he immensely talented? Yes. Will he score a ton of goals to the Blues? Yes, hopefully. But there's too many of these kinds of things going on with him that just, I don't know if he just needs to simplify his game or what, but he makes too many of these mistakes. And God forbid you say anything about it on social media, because people will say, Shen can make all kinds of mistakes on the ice. You don't criticize him, but you rip on Kyrou. It's a constant.
I don't expect Shen to score 50 goals and be a solid player.
Shen's not making $8 million a season. Shen's not as much is expected of Shen. Shen has a different role on this team. Yes, Shen does make mistakes. Shen can be frustrating. Shen is half the player he used to be.
Yep.
But
no one's arguing that.
The ceiling is sky high for Kyrou, and sometimes he hits it, but man, sometimes he underperforms on some of these shifts.
Well,
and it's just frustrating to watch.
You mentioned the giveaway at this point, and we said it when
it's 3 minutes to go in the game. You can't do that.
When Robert Thomas went down, we said there needs to be guys that step up. And the first guy you look at is Jordan Kyrou. We need you to be the $8 million man and start scoring goals, start setting up guys more. At this point, No goals in 10 games. No goals in 10 games. You heard that right. That's Jordan Kyrou. And it's like, and then like you said, he has this awful turnover that leads to the game-winning goal late in a game. What was it?
3 minutes.
16:59. Yeah, 3 minutes left in the game.
Yep.
And it's just, and again, it's not, he got poke checked at center and everybody was rushing up. And, this was him. I'm going to skate through center and just nobody on me. Oops, there goes the puck.
Which that idea is fine because he's got speed. He needs to use it. But just, I don't know. I mean, maybe he's not at that level that we all expected him to be. Maybe he's going to be that guy that falls short of elite and he's just a very good player who makes nice plays, but also fucks up. He's in those inconsistent categories.
I think if we could get to a situation where he is a second line right wing, I think that's what he is. I think the payment from Armstrong, honestly, was a little premature. I would like to see him get a little bit more of a bridge deal first. And then when we get the Snuggerudes, the Dvorskys, I think he drops down to your second line center. I'm sorry, second line right wing. And I think that's where he's at. It's just right now we are expecting a lot of him because of, like you said, what he's paid. And he's just not performing. Now, I brought up the 10 games because that he hasn't scored, because he is going to score a couple goals here in the next couple games, and it was huge, and we needed it.
He also hit 2 posts, and was it against in this game, or was it against?
I think it was in this game.
Yeah, 2 posts. So,
and yes,
he's been right there. He's been around the net.
But, man, how many times do we say it? Like when we talk about, that goalie just shut the Blues down, had a great game. At some point, it's, okay, you just got to bury your chances. You got to do it. And at this point, Kyrou was not doing it, and you need him to be that guy right now.
So the Blues won that game 2-1. Lost that game 2-1. Excuse me. That was their third loss in a row. So, and the Blues then went on to play Toronto, which apparently we are the San Jose Sharks. Like the Sharks are to us like we are to Toronto. Because
it will be hilarious that if the Blues don't make the playoffs and the Maple Leafs are like 1 point out of first and they have to play like Florida in the first round. Like, and it's like, Jesus, like if they would have just won one game against the Blues.
It's funny because the games against Toronto's loaded. Say what you want about their playoff performances, but they're a good team, and they're a good regular season team. They win a lot of games. They score a lot of points. But, lately when the Blues have played them, the Blues have destroyed them. 5-1 and 4-2 now. And this game was, this is they've played really well.
An inauspicious start for Austin Matthews too. He is not putting the puck in the net, and that's what he's paid to do. We bitch about Kyrou, and yes, it's a small sample size for Toronto at this point, but. I think he's hurt right now too. But before that, he was not putting the puck in the net.
What do you have? 69 goals last year. At least. He's what you're going to get from him. Pretty much.
Yeah. He's going to pick this game up.
Kyrou hasn't. Apparently, Kyrou has not achieved the ceiling that we expect of him. He hasn't gotten there yet. Matthews has. Okay.
We've seen the reporters ask Kyrou, you think you can get to 50 goals in this league? Yes.
Well, Tarasenko said that too, and he never did.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, he's still got time. What would you do if Tarasenko was a 50-goal scorer this year
on that Detroit team? Ooh, that'd be something, wouldn't it?
That'd be impressive.
That would be, he might get what? How many does he have? How many does he have this season yet? I didn't even look.
3 or 4, I believe.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's like a 20-something goal guy.
Yep. Berube's tribute. Did you see it?
I didn't see the tribute. No, I saw like the him salute and wave to the crowd.
Best tribute I think I've seen.
Really?
To be honest. Yeah, that was very well put together. With it being a coach, I think it's maybe a little harder, and they hit the nail on the head. They showed his speech going into Game 7 against the Bruins, which of course is one of the most iconic.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, one of the best speeches we've ever seen.
You know what's funny about it?
In St. Louis sports history.
About that speech is that if he doesn't cuss and say the F-bomb 12 times, it's just not what was with those words.
That's who he is.
No,
like
it's just
that's who Berube was and is.
Well, cussing matters.
It does.
You know what I mean? It really does. It'll take a something that you say is just not very impactful, and you just put the right emphasis on the right syllables and these F words. Man, that takes it from a mediocre speech to something that you're going to remember for the rest of your life.
It's like, and again, like I said, I think it's part of who he is, and I've I've been told myself that about 2 years ago, somebody told me that it's not our ice hockey team's name is the Force, and they're like, man, it is not a Force game until we hear Jeff Ponder say "fuck you" to one of the other players, and I'm like,
man,
you know what? Yep, and it is. It's so much more impactful than if I would have been like, forget you. Like, who's gonna remember me saying that?
Oh gosh, darn it!
Oh, you poop head.
my mouth ran crazy in games too. My parents could hear me. They'd go to the games, they'd watch, and they would just like, oh my goodness.
Yep.
When I was younger, and they'd be like, I'm like, hey mom, what happens on the rink stays on the rink.
That's what my dad always told me. He said, you are allowed to curse on the rink. You can curse in front of me, but when it comes to being face to face with your mother, you do not curse.
Yeah.
And and it was so funny the first time that she came to one of my high school games and she heard me cursing up a storm. I heard her in the stands going, you need to tell him after the game to knock that shit off.
It's funny. All the games I played and everything I accomplished, as a hockey player, my mom, one of the first things she'll say about her experiences was my mouth.
Yep. Mine too.
That's what she says.
Yep. Well, anyway, so no, it was a really well done. And then obviously he gets the standing O from the crowd, so I was out of town, but I did my best to have this game turned on all night. I did see, it looked like FanDuel Sports showed the whole thing. But I could be wrong. So good for them for finally fucking doing that, Diamond Sports Group. But yeah, it was well done. And of course we all love Berube here in St. Louis. So it had to be a masterpiece and they knocked it out of the park.
Parayko had 2 goals in the second period in this game. He had an assist. Suter had 2
Both
assists.
Bombs.
Yeah. Something that the Blues fans were just, they know he's got a hard, heavy shot, and they wanted more of this from him in his career, and he's just not the guy to do this consistently, and it's a shame. But fantastic to see. The second one especially was like, just because ringing off the post and in, just fantastic. Great showing by Parayko from the point in this game. Kyrou did score his first goal in 11 games. Bennington stopped 35 of 37, and he tied Jake Allen for the second most wins in Blues history with 148. Mike Liut is first, 151. Mike Liut is Bennington's agent, which is kind of
more
funny.
on this when we get to the next game.
More on this. Joseph Woll stopped 20 of 23. I didn't think he had a very good game this game.
St. Louis's own Joseph Woll. I believe that's his full name, actually.
It has become a joy to play Toronto, like I mentioned earlier. They seem to bring out the best in the Blues. I know Toronto's loaded with talent, but let me know if you feel the same way. When we've played them, especially the last 2 games, they don't seem like a scary team. They don't have that scare factor at all. Even though, like when you play Colorado, like when they're on, Colorado's scary. They can be, right? They're all over you. They've got a couple players that can just kill you, and Toronto does too. But maybe just against the Blues or whatever the matchups or whatever it is, you don't feel like, oh my God, we have to bend but not break in this game and hope we win it in the end. It's not.
So Toronto, if I'm incorrect here, fans, especially Ken Morris, if you're listening, I know you would know. If I'm being honest, I think Toronto does very well against their own division, which obviously that's where the points really matter. But I've seen them play, Buffalo on a Tuesday night, and they're not as scary to me. I see them play Boston, and I'm like, holy shit, they might put up 8 goals. But then when I see them play, Minnesota, I'm like, this is the same team that just beat Boston 4-1 the other night. Like it's and I think you mentioned Colorado. I think comparing the two teams, Colorado's got great depth. I think they could still get a little better, but they've got guys behind McKinnon. Obviously, Landeskog went down. They didn't miss a beat without him. Excuse me.
I'm just talking about teams we see often, and they're
right, but
considered
I'm
cup
saying
contenders,
they've
right?
got good depth behind them. I don't like Toronto's depth. I think Toronto's depth's awful. So you factor out, and again, Matthews hurt now. You factor him out, Nylander out, Marner out. I wouldn't even put Tavares in there anymore at his age. They're not that scary. You can take them out pretty easily, and their defense is nothing to be excited about. Again, Colorado, they've got Cale Makar, Devin Taves, like guys that can not only defend you well but score goals. Morgan Riley's really the only guy on that team that can do that. So that's why I think this Toronto team, we're never going to see them have success until they make major sweeping changes. Because, yeah, they never put the fear of God in me either.
So, and this was a great game that couldn't be celebrated too much due to the injury to Broberg that we talked about earlier. I didn't like this game from Joseph Woll in net for Toronto. Didn't think he played big at all. I thought Toronto's first goal was due to a lazy clear but the boards by Suter, which I talked about on Twitter a little bit. Nobody was there, and nobody was there. He just threw it on the boards, just not hard at all.
And there was really nobody on him either. I mean, he had a guy coming up on his back, he had time to look and decide where to put it. He could have skated out from behind the net a couple strides and then even put it up a little bit more on, I don't want to say up the middle, but not on the onside of the defenseman's stick.
He obviously didn't look. And I think if you're not going to look and you go up the boards, you go hard. Go hard on the boards.
Yeah, you ream it above the glass. You ream it on the glass, too.
Yeah, don't go along the ice on the boards. And then they end up scoring. So they brought the puck. They stopped at the point, brought it right back in and scored down low. So I thought that was – I didn't like Suter's play at all. I thought it was lazy on that play.
No. But I will say I thought he had a nice – it was I don't want to say nice because it wasn't that nice. It was kind of generic. But I thought it was a smart assist on Parayko's second goal. That was a play, and especially a guy like Ryan Suter that we've seen over the years. He gets the puck at the point, looks up, sees a shooting lane, easily takes the shot. He's an offensive defense, at least he used to be. Still kind of is, but a good, smart offensive player, I'll say more. That normally would probably put that on net, but he looked over and saw a wide open Colton Parayko and slid it over to him. And again, Parayko sends out the bomb. And I thought that was a smart heads-up play from Suter that we've seen more of this season as opposed to that first clearing attempt on the first goal.
Anytime you can pass the puck and get a one-timer and get the goalie moving, your chances of a goal increase exponentially.
Especially to a dude that can bomb the puck from the point.
Yeah, you get that goalie moving. I mean, if you get the puck at the point and the goalie is stable and sees you and is ready, you need a deflection, you need a screen, you need something because he's going to stop that. Yep. You pass the puck across and you get a one-timer from Parayko like he did. You get the goalie moving. Now he's got to adjust to a brand new instantly has to adjust to a brand new shooting lane, new players in the way. I mean, it's much harder to stop the puck. So every time you make that play, if you can.
Yep.
Kyrie's first goal in 11 games went off Shen and in hefty change of direction, lucky goal, but he will take it.
That didn't go off Shen.
I thought it did.
That would have been Shen.
Oh, sorry, not off Shen. Off of
it was off the defenseman.
I thought Shen was in. Was Shen in front?
Shen was in front and went off the defenseman's skate.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So real good game of the Blues. 4-2 coming off. Broke that 3-game losing streak. Big win. So anytime we have a losing streak, we don't play Toronto anymore this season, which is a shame. So,
yeah, I was saying, man, it's a shame we can't play Toronto 82 games this year.
I know.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, let's put us in Toronto's division. Although
give me a 7-game series like we had mid-season with Arizona a couple years ago. Give me that with Toronto.
or give me. I want a rematch of the. What year was it? 92, 93. Blues and Maple Leafs. The
Doug Gilmour,
Felix Potvin, and Curtis Joseph face off.
Oh,
Doug
so
Gilmour
good.
Goal. Yeah. Let's redo that. Let's redo that series with the same players right now.
I tell you what, if you were to ask me what year would you love to go back to and basically replay 93 is up there because that was God. That team was fun. The rivalry with Toronto. Oh, loved it.
Yeah, that year, when the Blues swept the Hawks in the first round. I mean,
good.
Yeah, there's
Belfour
so many
breaking his stick.
There's
We've done
so
that
many.
game, Mystery Hockey Theater.
I was at that game. Yeah, that was the best game I'd ever attended. It was my favorite Blues game ever until the Cup run. All right. So, and last night the Blues did defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-2 to start a homestand.
I believe it's called a home trip.
Home trip. The home
right?
trip.
Did you say home trip or did you say road? I think you said road stand.
I think I said road stand.
Yeah, that's a callback to last season, folks.
Right.
That's a good one.
It's to start off the home trip. 2-0-0 on Tuesday. Sundqvist, Toropchenko each scored their first of the season. Binnington stopped 21-23.
And hey, real quick, before we get into Binnington, how about that? That's some depth scoring right there. That second period, they got goals from Sundqvist and Toropchenko.
Mm-hmm.
Guys getting their first of the season. Guys you don't expect to put up more than, 8 goals in the season?
Yeah.
They both score against a good Tampa team. Probably still, I think, the best goalie in the NHL with Vasilevsky. And Toropchenko's goal. Jesus. That shot was a fucking beaut.
And this is the kind of depth scoring you need a little more often without, Thomas in the lineup. You got to have guys step up. You get your fourth line, and the fourth line for the Blues have been good this season. So keep that up.
It can't just be Nathan Walker every other game.
No, it can't. As much as we'd like it to be, he can only play every other game. So
that's right.
And Binnington moved into second place all alone in Blues history with his 149th NHL win, passing Jake Allen. He is now 2 behind Mike Liut.
That's actually, and I know we joke about how awful the Blues have been with goaltending over the years, and this is well-deserved. Binnington will be the winningest goalie in Blues history, the only one to win as a starting goalie, win the Cup. All well-deserved for this guy, but how funny is it that he passes Jake Allen, a guy that he's still friends with, as far as I've heard. So still friends with this guy, still talks to him on a regular basis, still in the league, playing for the Devils, had an excellent game last night, by the way, I watched. And then when he passes number 1, it's his fucking agent.
I know.
Like, it's 2 guys that he knows very, very well that he's passing to get to be number 1. Very cool.
It would have been a damn shame. And I say this now, and I was thinking it at the time. It would have been a damn shame if Jake Allen would have broken Mike Liut's win record, because it would have been with him bumbling and stumbling, to getting the occasional win, and breaking the win. Jake Allen was such a controversial figure in terms of his play on the ice, right? It's just we were down on him a lot. There were pockets of his fans on social media that would attack you. And it was just a very polarizing discussion when we talked about Allen online, because you'd get the Allen fanboys and you'd get the people who were tired of the inconsistent play.
Listen back a couple seasons of Let's Go Blues Radio, and you will hear us talk about Jake Allen and the fan base that just lived and died with him for whatever reason. Again, I don't hate Jake Allen. I can't tell you how many times I've had to say that to people. It's just he was not going to be the guy here, and the Blues just kept trying to force the issue. And I do think it's kind of funny to get on a little bit of our Binnington pedestal here. It's funny that I think Allen truly was the first time this organization, and I'm saying organization going back to the 60s, that they really were like, let's develop a guy and have him be here his whole career. Let's have that franchise goalie for the first time ever.
That'd be great.
And
right.
And I love that. I think if you've got the right guy, do that. But it was pretty clear after about 2 or 3 seasons up here, that was just not going to be Jake Allen. But they just kept pushing it and kept pushing it. And then finally, there's this guy that they call up. They're just like, if you remember, folks, he didn't even play the first month of the season that he got called up.
And we're screaming for him to play.
The Blues put Chad Johnson, they put him on waivers, let him go, and they were like, they ran Allen into the ground to the point where, like, every week we were all sitting here going, we don't hate Jake Allen. We actually think Jake's playing pretty well, but give him a fucking rest. Like, let your backup play. He played every game for over a month.
And they were last in the NHL. What do you got to lose? Put the guy in. Play him.
They finally put in this other guy, and guess what? It's homegrown talent. It's a guy that you pushed off on Providence when you didn't have an AHL team. Like, it's this guy that you basically wrote off, and now he's your franchise goalie. He's going to be your franchise wins leader. Just such a hilarious kind of story coming from St. Louis.
Then we talked about how Allen was just, they tried to shoehorn Allen continually into this number one role here. And so much so that they had, statistically speaking, the best goalie in Blues history on the roster that they just refused to give the number one job to for the longest time.
Yep.
And they finally do. And what happens? We beat the Blackhawks.
Yep.
Defending Cup champs in the first round. We beat them.
Yep.
It's like, whoa, yeah, see? And then he gets traded in the offseason.
Well, and it's, going back to the Ryan Miller trade, right before that, it was about that training camp. Somebody asked Doug Armstrong, are you interested in Ryan Miller? And he said it's maybe a 10% upgrade. And then he goes out and gets Ryan Miller. And it's like, your better goalie was on the bench all season. Like, Brian Elliott was great that year.
And that thing, that whole season, and I remember it very clearly. It was, they weren't going to go with Elliott as number one. That was clear. They were going with Halak. But they ended up trading for Miller to get that 10% upgrade, right? And so it's like, and I was okay with it. I wanted them to play Elliott. I was like, Elliott should be the number one. They weren't going to do it. If they weren't going to do that, okay, fine, go get Miller. Because Halak couldn't stay healthy. He was hurt all the time. So, and then we all know what happened with Miller in the playoffs. He didn't perform as expected.
And honestly, Halak was starting to look a little shaky himself towards the end of his Blues tenure. I remember that opening season, the year they traded him and got Miller. Opening that year, he had a rough stretch where he gave up like 4 goals.
Yes. Yep,
like 4 games in a row, and I thought, this is not the same Yaroslav Halak the Blues acquired.
Yeah. No. All right. So 3-2 win versus Tampa Bay last night. First period, Kyrou, bad pass at the point, turned the puck over, Lightning cleared the zone. That play made me think about well, these are my notes from last game. I'm not going to read that. This is a note that I didn't want. I'm like, I forgot that I put this in there, and I was like, what is that talking about? Let's not talk about it.
Well, let me just bring this up because I'm sure you have commentary on this. In the first period, the Blues were outshot 9-3.
Right.
They looked listless. This was, I don't even want to say they look listless. They just looked like the worst team. I thought Tampa just was taking it to them. They couldn't get anything started in the offensive zone. Every time they did, they would move the puck down low, and the defense was there to stop them. Hedman mostly had a really good first period. And it just looked like the Blues are this is not going to be their game. This is going to be a game they might lose. They might only lose 1-0, but they're not going to fucking score a lot of goals tonight. And then, and I'm not saying this was a good thing, but then the Holloway injury happened, and they had 1:11 left in the first.
Well, in the first though, while we're getting outplayed 9-3, I thought while Toronto outplayed us,
Tampa
outplayed us. I didn't think. I thought the Blues defense did a really good job of not giving Toronto a ton of stuff inside. I thought
Tampa.
God damn it, Tampa. I've got 2 Toronto games in my brain from earlier, and both start with a fucking T. So Tampa. I thought we did a good job. Huh? Yeah, both are blue.
Both were blue.
I thought we did a really good job defensively, keeping them on the outside.
I agree.
Their 9 shots weren't anything dangerous necessarily. I didn't think Bennington had a ton of work this game.
I agree. I just thought that Tampa looked like the better team.
No, I agree. I agree completely.
And they just did not let the Blues have anything offensively.
We didn't get our first shot until about the 10-minute mark of the first period.
And the 3 shots in the first, that was their lowest total in a period all season.
So the Blues offense was shut down. They didn't have any zone time. They didn't have a whole lot. I'm sorry. They did have a couple of chances, a couple of good zone time chances in the offensive zone, no shots. And so they were in the zone for like a minute twice.
Yep.
Lots of cycling, lots of good puck movement, but no shots. And it was like it was all for, nothing. So
So again, I hate to make it spin like a positive because it wasn't, but the Holloway injury happened. And it seemed like, there's 111 left. It seemed like the Blues kind of reset themselves. And there was some questions. I did hear Kerber and Joey talk to Steve Ott after the game. And he did say that like everyone just kind of like there was no like one person that stood up. Like everybody was like, hey, we got to finish what Dylan started. Let's get out there and just take it to this team. And I thought they came out the end of the first through the second period after that break, and they just looked a lot better. In the second period, they outshot Tampa 12-6, and they also outscored them 2-1. Again, the 2 goals from Sundqvist and Toropchenko. I thought it looked like a completely different team going into that second period.
Lightning did score the first goal in the second period, though. It was Nick Perbix, who, when I see his last name, I always think cervix every time.
I do too.
Cervix.
Yep.
But this first goal came referencing the previous goal against the Blues with Perunovich and Kessel on the ice. This was that goal I was talking about. They were on the ice for over a minute when Perbix scored. Perunovich looked terrible. Lightning player cuts across, didn't take the stick, the body got pushed out of the way. And this was after Kessel got kind of walked. I don't understand what Perunovich was trying to do here. It was like Perunovich kind of turned his back on the player and then just got shoved out of the way as he scored on the rebound. It was a great save by Bennington on this cut across.
Save.
Great save.
Honestly, I was going to ask Bill if he was going to be on the show. I'm like, even though it was a goal, would that be your save of the week? Because that was ridiculous.
It was good. But then Perfect stuck with it, and he kind of swiped at the rebound, and he slid onto Bennington as Bennington was going down on his belly and didn't see the puck laying there, and he poked it through his legs and in. Kind of a good effort goal by Perbix, but I thought Perunovich looked terrible on this play.
I mean, he's not tying up a stick. Like there was
he got
somebody
pushed out of the way, but he was standing backwards.
There was somebody coming in on the right side. He didn't even cover him. So if Perbix doesn't get that rebound, there's a chance that guy comes in and gets the rebound. I can't remember who it was. Might have been Kucherov. But yeah, and I will say too, both those rookie. I guess Kessel's still a rookie. And Perunovich. I don't know. Are they still considered rookies? I don't even know.
Perunovich shouldn't be.
He might not be. But they had been over there for over a minute at that point. The Blues were cycling in the zone. They didn't really have a good chance to get off. And so, they were probably tired at the end of that shift. But like you said, Perunovich, nowhere to be seen on this play. Kessel did not defend well. Just a rough first goal to give up. But again, Bitter makes a great save. You got to expect your defenseman to clear that rebound, or at the very least tie up a stick and then kick the puck into your goalie, something like that. None of that was done. Bennington, again, left to hang out to dry with those two out there.
Sundqvist scored his first goal of the season. A nice, hard, low point shot from Kessel that Vasilevsky couldn't glove. And
retribution for Kessel.
Yeah, Sundqvist pounced on the rebound and ended up chipping it by Vasilevsky. So a nice, hard-nosed, go to the goal by Sundqvist.
Yep.
And the Blues scored to go up 2-1 on a goal by Toropchenko. Nice play by Perunovich to make an amends from before, right? This was right after. This is great because, and we should mention, so before the nice play by Kessel, I guess it was, or was that before, when was Kessel interviewed? Was that in between first and second period? Because they asked him. He was interviewed and said, "What did Bennington say to you?" Maybe it was after the second period. I think it was after the second. But basically, Bennington said, "Don't worry about the play where you got walked in the first, whatever. Just keep at it." little rah pep talk for the defenseman, right? On a play they should have they looked bad on, and then they come out and they played well. Kessel made a nice play on I'm sorry, Sundqvist on Sundqvist's goal. Kessel made a nice play.
Nice play.
Yep,
Yeah.
Kessel makes a nice play, and then on the second goal, a nice play by Prunovich. So both players making nice plays after the pep talk. So we'll give
Yeah,
credit to
and again, I know it sounds like we're dogging these two guys. We're not. I mean, I think that it's just their two plays that if you were to ask them, they'd say we did not play that well. And we're just calling it like it is.
Yeah. I mean, when you have a goal scored against, you look, okay, what went wrong? What happened here? Could we have prevented this goal? Who could have played better? Or was it just a really nice play that you can't do much about?
What do we always say, Kurt? Hockey is a game of mistakes.
I love
it. Would be a 0-0 game every single game if there was no mistakes made.
Hockey's a game of mistakes, and it just depends on who takes advantage of the most mistakes.
Yep, exactly. And again, it just so happens that this week, Perunovich and Kessel were out there for two pretty similar, pretty rough goals. So, it just happens. It's part of it. But like you said, redemption stories here. I loved, we mentioned the Toropchenko, the shot I thought was, beautiful. Put it right where he needed to, tucked it under the bar. But it was also from great forechecking from Faksa and Walker on this play. They went behind the net, slid the puck out front from Faksa over to Toropchenko. Walker did not get an assist on this goal, by the way. I was not happy with that scorekeeping. I thought he was the one that went in and he kicked the puck. Maybe there was possession before, but I didn't see clear possession. But it was poked by a Tampa player, went to Faksa, and then Faksa set it in front. So I feel like Walker got kind of chipped there. But again, the fourth line coming up huge here for the Blues.
That was Sundqvist's fifth goal in his 12th game against Vasilevsky. So,
Ken Morris, comment of the show: a game played with no mistakes would be a boring game to watch. 100%.
I think boring's probably the wrong word, but it would not be as fun. You couldn't analyze it as much.
I don't think you'd see a lot of offensive chances because if the defense and goaltending is playing perfect, then you're not getting a lot of great offensive chances.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what? To be honest, I love a good goalie duel.
Me too, 100%. I've said it a million times on this show. One of my favorite games I've ever attended was a 0-0 tie between the Maple Leafs and the Blues. Curtis Joseph versus Grant Fuhr, and they each made like 38 saves. It was ridiculous.
The second period was a real nice period by the Blues. Did a good job of clogging up the middle in their own zone, not giving Tampa Bay a lot of real good looks at the net in tight. Did a good job of getting in the
you told me you did voice to text.
I did. And I did voice to text and all my notes here, and there's some weird spelling.
Sundquist, I guess, was changed to
Sunfest. Blues did a good job of getting in the shooting lanes and passing lanes. Lots of sticks on puck when defending in this period. They didn't give Tampa.
Suncoast.
Oh, Suncoast. I even tried to slow it down, and but it's weird. They got Vasilevsky right, I think, most of the time.
Yeah, it's close. It's close. It's got a Y there. It's got an I there, here and there. But Perunovich is right.
The Blues out shooting their opponents in the second period has become a trend this season. So, and they did so in this game again. We mentioned earlier 12-6 for Blues. This third period, the Blues kill off a penalty on a Parego. That's a baby stroller brand, I think. A Pareko for hooking, which there wasn't a hook. This was not a hook on Pareko. It was on the gloves, so you can call it a penalty, but his blade was literally turned towards the ice down, and it comes up from underneath, tries to stick lift, and hits his glove, and they called it hooking. I'm like, can't be hooking. The blade was pointed down away from the stick. I mean, he whacked him on the bottom of the glove, on the bottom hand. I get it. You get a stick on the hands nowadays, it's a penalty. If I'm going to nitpick, they saw it wrong. It wasn't a hook. It was.
And I'll say that I think if I remember correctly, the referee was right there. Yeah. If this is a call that he makes, he's 100 yards or 100 feet away, maybe I say, well, his angle sucked. But yeah, when you're right there, you got to make the right call.
I hate it when you see a play like this called a penalty. When you just it's not even, it doesn't really disturb too much. You just kind of get the guy on the hand a little bit and they call it a penalty. I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate the hooking call with one hand on your stick.
Oh, that drives me
You get
nuts.
the one hand on the stick, and they'll call it hooking because the stick might get in the hands of the player. I don't understand how you can hook somebody with one hand. It's very difficult. I'm sure you can do it.
Oh, it
Hard to
can be
do.
done if you're strong enough.
Hard
But
to
I
do.
mean,
You get that stick.
90% of the time,
Remember-
it's almost impossible.
Remember when hooking used to be, you would actually two hands on the stick and you get that blade wrapped around the guy's gut and you just yank him towards yourself. That was hooking. That's
And you
hooking.
don't move your feet, so it's like you're jet skiing.
You're water skiing behind him. Yeah. Yeah, I did it all the time. You guys on a breakaway, you're trying to catch him, you hook him and pull yourself up to him. And they never call it. That's the way it used to be. But
I love it.
But
miss it.
nowadays, you get one hand on the stick and you reach out and you kind of just tap them on the gloves. Hooking. Hooking changed so much.
Yep.
And then in the third period, Tampa Bay got a goal here by a rare miscue by Bennington when he handled the puck. Gave Falk a puck that was hard to handle in the corner up high on the boards. Got by him. The pass went out to Victor Hedman, who one-timed a shot by Bennington through traffic. Tough goal, not unusual miscue by Bennington. I don't think he knew what to do with the puck, and he just kind of flipped in the corner, and it got away. So,
yeah, I mean, when it comes to the shot, great shot by Hedman. Nothing I think Bennington could do there. Somebody was screening him from the Blues. It might have been Fox.
Yeah, still a bad giveaway.
Still, yeah, it's a bad giveaway, and I mean, unfortunately, with a goalie that is an elite puck mover, he's still going to make mistakes like that throughout the season. So just unfortunate.
I saw what's the guy's name on social media on Blues Twitter? He was like he was very critical of Blues goaltending handling the puck too much, and I don't think he understood how good the Blues goaltenders are at handling the puck. Hofer and Bennington are both elite puck handlers.
They are probably both top 5 in the NHL.
Easy. Bennington might be the best. And
the difference,
I'd say top 3 or 4 at least.
The difference is why, and I actually used to be on that bandwagon of goalies should never leave the crease to play the puck. Like, why would you do it? Let your defenseman handle it. But I've realized now that over time, with Bennington and his ability to handle the puck, it's become part of the Blues' offense. Like, it's part of their transition game. So if you told Bennington, like, hey, you're not going to play the puck anymore, Blues would be lost moving the puck up the ice.
That's a I mean, goalies that can handle the puck well, it's an extra defenseman back there.
It is.
When players dump the puck in, the other team dumps the puck in, that goalie cuts that puck off, it's pretty much guaranteed the puck is coming back out. You've turned it over, and now we gain possession.
That's why you don't see teams, unless it's a line change, really shoot the puck in on the Blues anymore.
Not
because
too much.
They know Bennington's going to go out and play it.
Not unless they're aiming for it to stay in the corner and they got a guy rushing hard opposite wing or something. But yeah, you're right. There's not a whole lot of
it around the boards.
Yeah, and if they do, Bennington's there. He knocks it down. So I mean, it's a great weapon to have back there. It's actually invaluable. I mean, I don't think people understand how valuable that is.
And at the end of the day, I'll say, no harm, no foul. Blues win the game here.
Oh, sure.
So all that did was affect his stats.
For sure.
Yep. And he'll take that every time.
Yep. Up next for the Blues, we got November 7th, tomorrow. If you're listening to this tomorrow, it's today. If you're listening to it on Friday, it was yesterday.
And if you're listening to it on Saturday, it was 2 days ago.
2 days ago. November 7th versus Utah. Get a little revenge game here, maybe against the Utah Coyotes.
Yes.
I like how that screenshot you shared on Twitter. This is why you don't name your team hockey team, because what team was it? Were they playing?
Oh, I can't remember. It was like the Bruins.
Let's say it was Bruins versus the hockey team.
Yeah, it was Bruins at hockey team.
At hockey team.
And I was like, Jesus. Yep, there you go, dummies.
It's almost like it looked like a space was left blank and someone forgot to put the name of the team in there.
Yep.
Saturday the 9th versus Washington. Tuesday the 12th versus Boston, and that ends the 5-game road stand home trip.
Home trip.
And then they play next Thursday, the 14th at Buffalo, which will probably be after our next show.
Yeah, I always put the
Yep.
the next game after when our show will be in these notes. So yeah, I would think we'll have a show again on Wednesday. But
So
yeah, by the time we talk to you next week, the Blues will be through their 5-game homestand. Right now they are 2-0, so we'll see how they go.
And you really want this game versus Utah. It's a division game. You know, they're close in the standings. They beat you last time, revenge game at home, and then Washington's a beatable team. So hopefully they can go 4-0 going into the Boston game. And Boston, every time I look up, they're losing. I haven't even seen their record, but I don't think it's great, is it?
They're not having a good year.
They're 6-7-1. They're a couple points behind the Blues in terms of points, but or a point behind the Blues, I guess.
What a shame to see the Nashville Predators having a rough year too, huh?
And yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second here with the Central Division
I'm
standings.
hearing, which is crazy, and I don't know, maybe you have it in the notes here.
I do,
but,
about the possible trades.
Possible trades, possible rebuild, and I'm like,
Yep.
literally just went out and signed 2 of the biggest names in free agency.
Yep, we got that in here. You don't look ahead?
I didn't know you put this in here, I'll be honest.
So rapid fire tidbits from the NHL. Central Division standings. Winnipeg is the class of the division with a crazy good 12-1 record, 24 points, which also puts them first overall in the NHL by a wide margin right now, 5 points better than second place overall Florida after 13 games played. 5 points better than a team with 13 games played overall in the NHL. It's pretty impressive. The Blues sit in fourth place right now at 7-6, 14 points, tied for Dallas for third in points, actually. And Nashville is still in last place at 4-7-1 before tonight. They lost tonight, so they're 4-8-1 now.
Taking the banner. 2
points behind Chicago, because Chicago also lost tonight. Colorado's in sixth place, 6-7-0, 12 points. Surprises in the division so far has to be Nashville, right? The biggest one, you'd say?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Colorado to some degree.
I mean, Winnipeg's a surprise in just how well they're playing.
Yeah,
but we all knew they were going to be good.
They're going to be good. They're not. It'll be interesting to see how much they come back to the pack.
Yeah, they're going to level off a little bit. They'll have a stand here. They'll have a home stand. No, or a road stand. Home trip. No, they'll have a couple games here coming up, I'm sure, where they'll go 500, maybe even a little 500. They'll come back down to earth. But yes, in terms of where we're at right now, Winnipeg is so impressive. I mean, we saw them here in St. Louis, and they looked unbeatable.
Yeah, they smoked us. They outclassed us on the ice. It wasn't even close. Nashville, so they lost their first 5 games of the season. Then they won 3 straight. They're thinking, okay, they got things figured out. Now they've lost 4 or 5 after tonight. Only scoring 5 goals. What they scored tonight? 2. So they've scored 7 goals in the last 5 games total tonight.
I don't do math, Kurt.
Yeah. So only 7 goals in their last 5 games scored. And they have 2 guys on the roster who scored 40 goals last year in Stamkos and Marchessault.
Stamkos, what, 6, 7, 8 games to get his first goal?
Was it that many?
Oh, it was a while.
Saros is not having a great start. His numbers aren't very good. And I believe it was Bill, right, who said that they got rid of the wrong goalie?
Yeah, and I agree with him.
Yeah, 100%. And Saros.
I think you trade Saros and keep Askarov because I think he's your future. And at the end of the day, I know you're wanting to win now.
Yeah,
but
I said
this team's got to be looking at the future.
Yeah, I said that, and I was like, that's a risky gamble if you want to win right now. But I mean, we'll see.
I just don't think their roster, even when they signed Stamkos and Marchessault, I thought,
and O'Reilly,
and I think I said it last week or maybe the week before that. I think the worst thing to happen to this team was making the playoffs last year. I think it was a faux playoff run. They had that crazy stretch in March where they went. I think they were. They were. What's the word I'm looking for? They weren't beaten all through March. I think
undefeated.
Undefeated is the word I was looking for. Thank you. But yeah, they were ridiculous down the stretch. But it was like, if that doesn't happen, they didn't make the playoffs last year. Well, and it's like, I think that was the worst thing is they looked at the roster and they said, how do we improve this current roster? When the question should have been, how do we build to where we're good in 3 to 4 years?
So let's rip on Nashville a little bit. So not a single.
Oh, I already am.
Yeah, not a single plus player They don't have a single plus player in the list of regular players. Their only plus player is Mark Delgazzo, who is a +1, and he's played 6 games.
Also won a cup with the Blues in 2019. Michael Delzato. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was going to say, like, what? Stamkos and Marchessault are on pace right now for 13 goals each. Something like that. They were the 40 goal scorers I referenced earlier. Dom Luszczyszyn, his model at The Athletic, which uses advanced metrics and simulated the season thousands of times, predicted the Predators would finish with 98 points, 3rd in the Central, 10th overall in the NHL, and a 75% chance to make the playoffs. Dom had the Blues at 82 points, 24th overall, and 10% chance to make the playoffs. He had the Jets finishing below the Predators, but tied in points. Still super early for this, but things likely to change a lot. But his model is not surprisingly all over the place, like it always is. There's a Reddit thread on the Blues subreddit that started by someone that is wanting O'Reilly back after the Preds GM Barry Trotz said in a radio interview on Tuesday, and this is what you referenced earlier, on 102.5 The Game, if we don't get it going, then I'm going to start our rebuild plan. So you got to wonder how long. A lot of teams use like the 20-25 game mark to kind of Thanksgiving-ish, right? To kind of gauge where they are and what they want to do going forward with the season. Would you want O'Reilly back here at $4 million per for 3 more years? He has 9 points.
4.5 for 3 more.
He has 9, and which, you know what? When he signed there, that's less than a lot of fans were demanding or asking the Blues to re-sign him. They were saying $6-7 million. He has 9 points in 12 games this year. He would help with the loss of Thomas. We needed more center depth anyway, even with Thomas here in the lineup. He'll be 37 at the end of the contract, though. And last year, he did show signs of slowing down. He does not have a no-trade clause.
He showed signs of slowing down his last season in St. Louis.
Right. But then he picked it up with Toronto a little bit, and then he picked it up last year with Nashville. We technically have the cap space, too. It just all depends on, I guess for me, it depends on where we are when he becomes available, if he becomes available. You know, I think if the Blues were to say, hey, we do want to improve our center depth by making a move, I'd welcome him back under the right circumstances.
Yeah, it depends on the return. The Blues are expected, which they're wanting to rebuild if they trade him. The Blues are in the middle of a rebuild. I don't know if
retool.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know if trading draft picks, high draft picks,
I think it depends.
Something Armstrong is interested in right now.
I think it depends on where the Blues are. I really do. Whenever, if and when Trotz decides he wants to go through a rebuild and move some players.
Boy, how bad does that look for him as
oh my God,
second year GM right now?
It seems so quick. You know, it seems like the season just started, and now he's saying, well, maybe a rebuild if we don't turn it around soon. That does look bad. It's just, I mean, I get it though. I mean, at least I think a lot of Blues fans feel that Armstrong should have taken that stance and said, we're going through a rebuild, not this goofy retool thing where we try and be competitive, make the playoffs while trying to get better in the long term. It's a hard thing to do. So, you know, a lot of people are always like, you know, get rid of players, build for the future.
We're in the midst of it. I think it's actually going pretty well.
I do too. And I've always said that our the way the contract situations are set up that we have on this team and the no trade clauses that are in place, it's too hard to sell off the high price stuff to go through a full rebuild. You can't do it. So they're almost forced to go through a retool and try to win while you rebuild, which again, like you said, it is, I mean, it's going pretty well so far. We'll see.
Mike Leon, listener of the show, friend of the show, says, no Ryan O'Reilly, please. Ponder nailed it. If it was a 1-year rental, hell yes, but that's not the case. Yeah, I would say I'd be willing on the 3 years too. And Big Beaver, I think, is kind of flirting with the idea. I'm thinking he's a risk at plus $4 million, but I could bargain at 3. If there's some salary retained,
well, if you do that, you got to give a higher pick, though.
You will have to trade a higher pick, but I think because this team is lacking at center depth, and right now, a trade would definitely help this team. I think Ryan O'Reilly at this point in his career is at best a second line center, but in a very short term, which is what we're talking about here, he could fill in as your top center. I don't think they'd be making that trade now, and that's the issue. I think they make that trade when Thomas is coming back. So at that point, do you really want to make that trade? But yeah, I would at least listen if it was like, hey,
for sure.
we're willing to retain 1.5 of his contract for the next 3 years
for a
every
second round
year.
pick.
Yeah, for a second round pick, I'd be like,
would you do it? Well,
I think I would do it.
Here's the thing, though: the Blues don't have a second round pick next year to give, or a third round pick next year.
So
I'm sorry, this coming draft.
So they could do it in 2026.
They don't have a second round pick. Then they have a third round pick, though. They have no second round picks this draft or next. But they have a third round pick 2 drafts from now.
2068. Let's try that.
Yeah, I mean, the Blues could always acquire, something to make a trade.
Right.
They've done it before. If they really wanted to,
this summer.
I mean, if you really wanted to acquire a guy, you can acquire a second or third round pick to make that happen. But again, way too early. I'm still in the same boat. The Blues shouldn't be making any moves right now for anybody. But down the road, a month, 2 months, if the Blues are on a roll and, hey, we could make some noise in the playoffs. We're playing really well. Guys are stepping up, whatever, if that's the case and you want to improve your center depth and O'Reilly's available, you look into it.
Big Beaver says exactly. We have young depth. Let a trade slide for 2 to 3 years. We need a center ASAP. Again, I think if it was literally Barry Trotz doing what Doug Armstrong almost did in 2019, send an email out to all the GMs and say, here is who's available. Take them. And Ryan O'Reilly's on that list. I think you at least listen. But for me, they're not making that trade until at least Thanksgiving. And at that point, you're already talking about, Thomas is skating and Thomas is going to be evaluated in 2 weeks. Like at that point, I don't know if you really want to make a center trade.
Ken Morris brings up an issue about O'Reilly's speed. We are trending towards faster players, and we have pretty good speed on this team right now. Yeah. O'Reilly would slow that down quite a bit.
He's very slow. Although 2022, do you remember who the fastest skater was in the Blues and Avs series?
It was O'Reilly, wasn't it?
Should have been Jordan Kyrou, but it was Ryan O'Reilly.
Right.
Which I was like, holy shit, that's how slow this fucking team is.
Not surprising. McKinnon blew by him. Remember that infamous play?
God.
He just wasn't skating.
Oh, anyway. That was one of the worst.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up a great point, Jeff, that down the road this season, obviously the trade's not being made now from Nashville's perspective too, because they're not selling off players for a little while yet anyway. And when they do decide to do that, if they do, then Thomas is skating and ready to come back. So so the Blues are like, oh, we'll get better with Thomas. We don't need to make a trade right now. So if the Blues do anything trade-wise to improve their center depth, I wouldn't think it'd be until January.
Well, you got to think too, the Blues would not be the only team that would be considering acquiring O'Reilly.
And they would probably be offering a lot more than the Blues would.
Right. And the Blues might, like, again, you mentioned retained salary. We want a second round pick. Blues go out and get a second round pick. But in that time, I don't know, let's just say for the sake of argument, because they're awful with cap management, the Edmonton Oilers jump in and they say, we'll take him for a first round pick. Okay.
God.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying there might be a little bit of a bidding war for Ryan O'Reilly for a second, third line center with another team. And at that point, if it goes higher than even a second round pick, I'd be like, no, we're good.
Yeah. I mean, so many moving parts in this, and where teams are going to be in the standings and I guess, I don't know. We'll see. The giddy division rival in me wants Nashville to flop and fall on their face this season, which so far they have. Mm-hmm. I'd love to keep that up. So,
yep. Mike Leon says, let's not mention the McKinnon play along with Yzerman and Owen Nolan. I actually have no problem talking about the McKinnon play because the Blues did come back in that game. Tyler Bose, that was the game Bosey scored in overtime. So that one doesn't bother me as much, but it does piss me off when I think about Jordan Kyrou just letting McKinnon blow by him.
Man, the Owen Nolan. I don't think the Owen Nolan goal gets enough hate in Blues Nation. I think because the Yzerman goal exists, it overshadows any other bad goal against in the playoffs. That's like the goal, right?
Maybe it's because I have so much hate towards that goal that the rest of St. Louis doesn't need to have hate toward it.
Well, that goal didn't end the game, even though it was in Game 7. But
it was close to the end of the second. It was on my birthday. I was there.
Yep.
That was
a big goal in that game, but Yzerman's goal clinched the entire series. So rightfully so. I mean, that one's
most hated goal in Blues history. Plus, like, everybody loves to use that in their highlight reels for Stanley Cup playoffs, for Red Wings, and
I thought at the time, man, that's the camera work on that goal was so good. The angle it got, I'm like, oh, that's gonna be played forever.
Yep, and I'll say the Sidney Crosby Olympic gold medal game goal against U.S. The first thing I said was, thank God the Olympics are stingy about who uses their highlights, because otherwise we would see that goal forever with every single hockey highlight. So luckily that has not been the case.
Speaking of goals in the playoffs, or goals that are, I love how when the Hawks won their first cup in forever, it was Kane's goal that nobody knew went in. Remember that?
Oh yeah, Philadelphia.
Yeah, so nobody knew it went in. Not even Mike Emmerich, right? He was confused for a while. So
Kane was the only one on the rink.
It's such a unreplayable moment for the NHL, and there's no good audio for it. And I thought that at the time, like, oh, this goal is not going to be replayed ever except to laugh at, right? So it's
how
just
often do you see it?
Yeah, no,
you might come across it once a year.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny because like their first cup in forever, and it was on that kind of a goal, and you got one or two because their fan base was kind of robbed of that jubilation moment when they see the puck go in. They didn't have that. They were like, there's confusion for a second. Did it go in? I don't know. What happened? What? He's celebrating. No one else is. What happened?
Although, what's funny is I do still see the Petro goal at the end of the first with the Marchand line change. I see that little highlight a ton. Like that's the Blues moment I see a lot. And the Binnington save on who was that? Wasn't Niederreiter.
Did you say Marchand or Marchand?
Did I say Marchand?
Maybe.
We were talking about Nashville. It was stuck in my head.
Okay, maybe I heard Marchand. Maybe you said Marchand.
But no, the save he made, I can't remember who that was on, but in the second, Joakim Nordstrom.
Okay.
The save, as we call it. I see that too. I see those way more than the Blackhawks like clinching goals. And
for sure. Well, those are cooler moments. I mean, the Kane goal was not a I don't know how to describe it. It was a goofy moment that you can't really. It's hard to celebrate in a package of, iconic goals because it's such a long, drawn out video that no one knows what happened.
Well, I just want to point out to Mike Leon and to Heavy 44 that I did come up with Nordstrom before we saw that come through because there is a delay. But thank you for helping me out with that.
And I think that's all I got for this episode, Jeff. Do you have anything you want to close with?
November 23rd, Ponder Cup. Hope you'll all be there. We've got some great stuff. Again, I'll show this is a Broberg jersey. It's still in the bag. I don't want to take it out. And we also have the new Ducks jersey that came in too, the orange one. It is a Leo Carlson jersey.
I was going to ask. Okay. All right.
Yep. So very, very nice jerseys that I was able to get of two young stars that'll be in the league for a very long time. So
are you going to have any baskets of meat like that one year that I won?
Oh, that would be awesome. I'm hoping so. One year we had a fire pit. Somebody donated like an actual like big fire pit.
Didn't it have like s'mores and stuff boxes in it?
Yeah, they called it like the fire pit basket, and it had a bunch
Hershey's
of,
and graham
like
crackers
that.
and marshmallows. Yeah,
I'll show this off.
There was beer in it too, I think.
I got this in the mail. This is also going to be in the
that's
raffle.
That's the best thing. That shirt is available on letsgoblues.com in the shop. If you're a friend of the show, and I know a number of you are, and you want to pick up a shirt to show it off, it's a nice looking shirt.
It is. I was going to tell you this, Kurt, on the air, because that way it's recorded and people can reference it. Our friend Jeremy Rutherford said that the Dylan Holloway quote should be a T-shirt. Well, maybe that's a good shirt for the letsgoblues.com shop.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, there you go. I'm full of those.
Nice. I like it.
Mike Leon, yes, we mentioned the 12-year-old with leukemia that we are not giving the money to Broberg. We will be giving the money to Evelyn, is her name. Support Evelyn. You guys are cute. Yes, I agree. We are cute. But yes, please, 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 November 23rd, our friend Evelyn Parks is who is going through leukemia treatment right now. We want to help her and her family out as much as possible. So please show up. Even if you just show up, buy a couple raffle tickets, buy a beer, buy a soda. Everything's going to Evelyn. So please just show up and buy a soda. And even if you just want to show up and you don't have any money, but you just want to show up and watch some bad hockey and show your support for Evelyn, that's great too. So yeah, please, November 23rd, Midwest Sport Hockey. That's all I got.
That'll wrap up episode 6 of season 14 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast. Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook, YouTube live chats during the live show. Is it on Facebook? It is not right now, right? Correct?
Yeah, we're on Facebook.
Okay.
Why would we not be?
I don't know. I thought there was a hitch in the giddy up with
Twitter and Instagram.
Twitter.
We were not on Instagram tonight.
YouTube and Facebook live chats during the live show. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. For Jeff Ponder and the Missing in Action Bill Day, I'm Kurt Price. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues. You suck, Nashville.
Let's go Blues and fuck you, Nashville. Sure.
The Chiefs are at home tonight against Cyanosport at the War Memorial at 8. Good seats are still available.
A look at fourth.
I think that went very well.
Thank you for listening to Let's Go Blues Radio. Now take off, hosers.
I want you to have a heart attack and die so that we never have to do this shit again.
Well, there's 90 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Sorry.
St. Louis Blues, St. Louis Blues. Have you heard the news about our St. Louis Blues? They've only just begun, they're on their way to number one. Now there's no more blues for our St. Louis Blues. The Blues are on the ice tonight again. They're rough and tough and got the stuff to win. They'll always get one more, no matter what the score. They are quite a hockey team, my friend.